You want a little taste of Europe before we get started, Jeremy?
Yeah, what's happening? What's new? I don't follow even my own news anymore.
All right. Kieran, explain.
Okay, yeah. So there was a hostage crisis in like Western Ukraine, like the part of Ukraine that borders Poland, where like most of the insane neo-Nazis are. And the only demand that the hostage taker had was that the president of Ukraine in Russia promote the film Earthlings, which is
yes, I did see this.
A 2005 American documentary film about animals being kept as pets, food and clothing and whatnot, narrated by Joaquin Phoenix with music by Moby.
That's an all-star lineup.
That is an all-star lineup. And yeah, fucking Vladimir Zelensky had to like do a Facebook Live video announcement being like, in Russian, like he demanded that he do it in Russian, not Ukrainian. Hey, everyone, go check out the film Earthling.
He deleted it after
the hostages were released.
Oh, yeah, but the internet has not forgotten.
Oh, yeah, it's on Twitter still.
Yeah.
I'd just like the world to know Moby has very cool vegan tattoos. Please release the hostages.
I am the president of Ukraine. I always sign off my messages like that, reminding everyone who I am.
Yeah, by the way, president of Ukraine, in case anyone forgot.
Because the rest of this is very unpresidential. Yeah, so that's just one of the things that happened.
That's
this
a
week.
taste.
That's a taste.
I mean, just as a heads up, throughout the conversation, if there's anything like, Kieran sent me the motivation for this podcast. He was like, yeah, they just Googled Black Peter.
Yeah, they name search Black Peter.
Yeah. But you guys mentioned Graham Linehan, Greta Thunberg, symbols of Ireland, which are all common topics on our podcast. So
Yeah.
any of
Wonderful.
these, if you would just want to jump in.
Symbols of Ireland is a common topic on our podcast.
I wrote that. I think so.
I do this whenever I speak.
Oh, okay. Kieran, the international symbol of Ireland is
Irish
Kieran.
representation.
I'm on some of the postage. Yeah, that's how it works.
How many listeners do you think you would need to get on
no.
the Irish postage stamp?
Since
Like
this is
us,
something
our
that has
podcast.
never happened. There is
The real
not
question
a single.
is how do we get Jerry Adams on the pound?
On the British pound.
I'm just
Yeah.
waiting for Kieran to be so like essential to Irish culture that then Irish neo-Nazis in the United States start getting tattoos with like sayings of yours or like
Yeah.
based on it.
That's how you know you made it.
Or like that guy who keeps getting like, oh, I got this tattoo of fucking
Was it Blue Lives Matter or whatever?
No, the Blue Lives Matter thing, that's another thing. But like the tattoo of like, oh, I got this tattoo of Eamon de Valera. I was like, no, that's when fucking Snape played Eamon de Valera in a movie. That's not a picture of Eamon de Valera.
The best is the Blue Lives Matter one though.
Where they tried to Google translate into Irish Blue Lives Matter, not realizing that blue in the Irish language is the word we use for black people. So they accidentally say black people, Black Lives Matter. Oh, it's wonderful. I love it.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
There's this Boston guy going around with that written on his leather shirt, wondering why all the Irish tourists were just taking pictures of it. Solidarity back from the motherland, I guess.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect it from this guy. This cop-looking guy.
He's the guy who owns the Starry Plough in Cambridge. You know, there's some good. You know, there's some good ones in Boston.
If the Starry Plough is the Irish communist symbol, though.
Yeah. Again, no one knows that.
No one
sure,
knows
I
that.
guarantee there are multiple Bostonians with Starry Plough tattoos.
And then, like, 1488
Yeah.
is written underneath, yeah.
No, not necessarily 1488, but just like
Yeah, but how do you say 1488 in Irish?
Oh, God, Jesus, Capitol, Octonoctic. But, like,
Wait, what? Octonoxis?
sounds
It's
very
also
German.
German?
it's all from fucking Latin roots. Fuck off.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's that fucking, red-brown coalition that then everyone keeps talking about, right?
The Irish and the Nazis, together at last.
Yeah.
Actually, no. A lot of SS officers, like, Ireland was, like, the poor Nazis Argentina. And then when I found out that, like, I'm of German heritage in Ireland, I had to do a lot of deep digging to make sure that we weren't, like, just SS rejects who couldn't pay for South America. Hey, it's your weekly corner Späti. It's with Kieran cosplaying as Nick, but Nick's over there.
Hi.
And we also have Rob today.
Hey, everybody.
Yulia's fighting the good fight against, spin the wheel, the French. And with us today, we have special guest star from Generation Lost Pod and Ballin' Out Super. It is Jeremy Hammond.
What's going on, guys? Thank you for having me on your show. Very excited to talk about Europe.
Nailed it.
It's this thing. We're here. We're living it. You know, it's a vibe, I guess.
It is
the
a
kids
vibe.
call it.
Yeah, it's a vibe.
Honestly, that's not wrong. Europe is a vibe.
If the vibe of Europe wasn't there, they just realized it's an Asian subcontinent, and they everyone just shut up.
Yeah, true.
Europe is a way of, it's a mindset.
But yeah, as the host of a movie podcast and an anime podcast, I'm very excited to delve into European politics.
European politics is very like anime. Don't ask me to explain that. I'll come up with very half-arsed connections later on. Like I'm writing a thesis for my lit course, like 12 minutes before it's due. All right. So the main topic of today is how the Dutch are fucking hella racist, like all European countries, but in their own specific festive way.
This is a long time coming, I think, for our listeners. We've had requests for this episode. The Piet takedown.
Finally, someone's putting him in his place.
Gonna go, yeah.
Oh god, now I'm picturing the like YouTube thumbnail for it, and it's like it's Piet doing like soy face. It's like Dutch owned with facts and logic.
Yeah.
I just want to get that photo of Elmo clotheslining a wrestler and just put Jeremy Hammond's face over the Elmo.
I'm going to put your face on top of John Wick and be like, Jeremy Hammond about to go beast mode on the Dutch racists.
Oh, wait, Zorta Piet. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm black.
Got me feeling like black sort of Piet.
Okay, hypothetically speaking, Santa is racist, and he has.
Right. Before we get into that madness, it is time for our recurring section, Megarika, where Megarika, classic Swedish word for just a mega rich person, where I found the richest person in every European country, and I get to tell everyone else in the podcast their net worth, why they're rich, and 3 pieces of information about them, and they have to guess either who it is or where they're from.
Okay.
All right. So, without further ado, net worth $110.9 billion US.
Yo, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Isn't that
Damn.
the richest person so far?
That is by far the richest person.
I think that's the richest person in Europe.
The last one was fucking like, small pickings of like 14 billion or something like this.
It gets pretty dark when you get into like the small countries. Anyway, why are they rich? Luxury goods, and a classic one on this segment, having a rich dad who died.
Okay.
Europeans love it.
Am I allowed to ask questions?
No.
Yeah, but we'll do a round robin at the end of guesses, and you can do clarifying points. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Piece of information number 1. Mostly got a start as president of his dad's property management company, which he then, over the years, pivoted into a company that would buy failing companies, strip them for parts, and keep the one good thing they had. He got his start in luxury goods by buying his mom's favorite perfume company.
That's sweet.
Yeah, that's nice, yeah. Speaking of family and friends, he has 3 children, all of whom are fairly senior in his company in some way or another, and have also all worked for McKinsey & Company. He is also...
They're the company.
Pete Buttigieg.
He is also close personal friends with the current leader of his home country, as well as the last 2 leaders of his home country. He was the official witness of one of their weddings.
I was going to say a murder, but okay.
I mean, that mightn't be on the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, but like being witness to a murder comes up a lot in these megarikas. Like to notarize that, like, the 3 eldest sons of this family all died in skiing accidents. I'm a witness to this, and now you, the 4th son, are the heir to the family.
I still love like Italian old money of just like we all go to the Alps one winter and suddenly 3 kids have all just been like killed and they're out of the will for some weird skiing mishap.
It's like Knives Out, but they all die.
All right, piece of information number 2. He started 2 financial papers in his country. The first failed, but the newer of the 2 is still going. According to former staff of both, he maintains tight editorial control. He routinely rings up and harasses various editors of various papers in his home country. Usually when he is involved in a scandal, such as fraudulently attempting to get Belgian citizenship so he could pay less taxes, or his involvement in the Paradise Papers, he punishes the newspapers who published that story in the first place by pulling all advertising from his company that's in the paper.
Nice.
Yeah. Classic move.
Direct action.
Fact number 3, and the last fact. Okay, so this is why I wanted to talk about this week. A left-wing newspaper in 2013 bought stock in this Megarika's company with the plan to gain access to the company's General Assembly and complain about all the shitty media stuff he does.
Okay.
In response to this Megarika hires a private military contractor called The Shark to infiltrate the paper, stop the operation, and spy on them in real time.
Damn, Europe really is like anime.
Oh, wait until I tell you the shark's real name.
Well, I was going to ask, they have to. Does the shark have to identify themselves as the shark? Like, now the shark will take the floor. They're just a concerned shareholder.
It's just a
Nothing
man who's
suspicious.
just all neck.
He can't turn his head.
No.
Well,
If
it's
he
like
stops moving, he'll die.
It's literally the meme of like, why does every white cop look like this? And it's the shark from Finding Nemo, but come to life.
All right. The shark, quote unquote, was the head of this country's intelligence operations under one of the Megarika's former president friends.
Oh, okay.
The shark used his connections in the police and military intelligence to interfere with the paper and the editor's expose film/documentary thing about this Megarika. According to another independent left-wing newspaper, this involved providing guns, passports, official government documents, and government lawsuits as tools for this Megarika's company to use, fraudulently claiming that the left-wing paper in the Megarika's country was connected to other more radical left-wing movements, so the Megarika's bodyguards could have bigger and more powerful guns.
Oh no, my brain is tingling now.
Yeah, I feel like I'm either like wondering if I've had too much caffeine today and my body is just in this like lull of like vibration, or if it's because of what you just told me.
It's possibly
Both.
It could be both.
It's probably both. Yeah.
Could be both. All right, I'm going to, for the sake of our guest overseas, Jeremy, in the Twitter DMs, I'm going to send you a map of all the countries you can guess. The ones in gray are the ones
that have been picked already.
Yeah.
the ones that are blue have been picked already. The gray ones that can be picked.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Because I have a map of Europe open just for
yeah. I had to make this after the first couple of ones where everyone in the fucking podcast was like, "Oh fuck, is Israel in Europe? Jesus."
Okay, so
according to
gray, we
UEFA, it is.
Yeah, right, and Eurovision.
Yeah, we're doing a mix of UEFA and Eurovision rules.
Yeah, of course.
Um,
Okay, so my favorites for this are not picked yet.
Okay, all right. So, do you have any clarifying questions? Because you did have concerns
Yes, I
about
do.
that.
So you had mentioned a wealthy father or wealthy family, I should say.
Yep.
And additionally, 3 sons. You said who work for the company.
Yeah, 3 children,
3
2 sons,
children.
1 daughter.
Okay, so my clarifying question is: this family.
Ooh.
Are they tied to the royalty of the country? And sub question: do these children have? Would you describe it as weak chins?
I have not examined the quality of these rich boys' chins.
That's bullshit. Kieran has his calipers out right now.
Kieran actually mods the Reddit r/rate chins.
Chinraider.com.
So he's really putting on an act right now. He's playing dumb.
Celebchins.com. No, they are not tied to the royal family, and I
Damn.
do not know the quality of their chins.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any other clarifying questions?
No, I'm overwhelmed by the wealth of $110 billion.
110.9 billion.
Fuck off.
So my role, I think I've won like one of these. I usually just shoot from the hip. So I got to guess.
All right, I'm gonna get the guest guess first. So Jeremy,
Okay.
what's your pick?
Yeah. So here's I'll map it out for you. I think you said that they tried to falsify Belgian citizenship, so I know it's not Belgium. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to guess that it's somewhere in the geographic proximity of Belgium, just based on trying to get away with such a caper.
Yeah.
Obviously, we are talking about Black Peter today, so it does seem like the Netherlands would be the obvious guess, but I'm going to go with Luxembourg.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Oh, yeah, Luxembourg's a country.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's not just like a weird tax shelter.
Okay.
It is.
I'm wondering, does Rob go first or do I go first? Because I don't.
Oh
really...
yeah, you have the most points. So yeah, Rob.
Rob.
What's your pick?
Yeah, I don't know, France.
Okay, you're going.
Is it, I'm pretty sure France is the richest person in France is either behind Germany or above Germans for the richest in
Yeah,
Europe.
I was gonna guess France too because of the
Belgium.
perfume thing, and I can't think of like if it's a major perfume
The dude's
and
like
it's
a
luxury
fashion-
goods.
I've seen his photo before.
And I'm thinking too because you said it's luxury goods and real estate, and I'm wondering if it's then Louis Vuitton
Okay.
because
the
they
Louis
also-
Vuitton Don, the one everyone's
No,
been
because
talking
the holding company that then bought it is one of the wealthiest companies in the world. Louis Vuitton, LMV. What the fuck is the full thing? Louis Vuitton, whatever. Yeah, there's a
Okay.
there's a holding company that owns them. I think it's that. Because
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm locking in your answers now. We've got one Luxembourg, two Frances, and I have to say it was with a heavy heart that Nick and Rob are correct. It is France.
Ah, damn.
This is Bernard Arnault,
Yeah. Okay, I've heard of him.
the richest person in
Yeah,
Europe,
you're right. It's the LV.
and was technically the richest person in the world for like 2 weeks just after Jeff Bezos got divorced.
Oh, king.
He
He had.
We'll get it back. We'll get it back, baby.
America number one. Yeah, like most of these times when we go into like Montenegro or something, it is just like the richest person on your street kind of thing.
Has 8 goats.
Okay,
And-
wait. I didn't. When you mentioned what sealed it was the ties to the intelligence services, because
Yeah.
French intelligence is like they got some muscles to flex. I know they, people
We're not
act
just
like
killing like diplomats from West African nations.
yeah. They're like they've had some history. My guy, there are some sharks in French Algeria. We can leave it at that.
They're all sharks, man. So this is the
Yo,
guy.
this French Foreign Legion shit crazy.
Yeah. So explain that part of the story again.
Okay,
with this
I'm
context.
going to come back to that because I just want to confirm. Nick, you are right. This is LVMH.
LVMH, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, Moet Hennessy gets the last two. Yeah.
Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy.
Yeah.
The like biggest luxury goods company in the
No,
world.
it's not every rapper's 3 favorite things.
Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy. Yes,
For rappers always pronounce it Moet, which is how I pronounce it Moet too.
I don't. Yeah, well, maybe you're right.
But
No,
it's like,
it is Moet, but
It's a French
it's
company,
spelled
but it's got
Moet.
an umlaut in it. I don't know what's
Whatever.
meant to happen.
It's meant so that you separate it from the O.
Okay. Anyway, so I also want to say the full name of the shark is Bernard the Shark Squarcini. Because when
it's
you
so
get
much better.
That's so much better. Because when you get real far south in France, things get very Italian very quickly.
Yeah, Squarcinis.
Squarcini.
That's like the fake. That's the fake Italian name that I always use is Squeenie Broccolini.
So this was like Bernard the Shark Squarcini, or Le Squale in French, was like hired by this fucking rich asshole to like spy on the newspaper Fakir because they tried to like storm his like General Assembly one time. And yeah, it's just been
France is so cool.
so good. But like it's mainly just like all this is coming out now, and it's all just audio recordings of the shark talking about Trotskyists everywhere, and then like
Classic Italian problems, you know?
and then just like requesting semi-automatic rifles from the French government, and then just getting them and giving them to a bunch of like hired goons for Louis Vuitton.
okay, but imagine the drip that those Gladio neo-Nazi forces will have. Like not only the grenades, of course, the guns, but like the finest fashion.
But yeah, there's the richest person in Europe, Bernard Arnault. It's been a while since I've done French. Anyway, all I know is you're just not meant to pronounce most of it.
Yeah.
So-
just avoid consonants as much as you can.
Yeah, trail off at the end of every word.
Words
all
to
right.
live by.
Yeah. So with that, I think we can get into our main topic, and I believe Rob, you'll be taking over from here.
All right. Well, I just want to set the stage. For example, Jeremy. So can you maybe explain how you came across this topic very quickly for us?
Yeah, sure. So on my podcast, Ball Nut Super, I think it might have been a paywalled episode. I don't know. But I was arguing with my co-host Alex about whether the talking goat from the movie The Witch was called Black Peter, which is how I misremembered his name. It turns out it's Black Phillip. But I was remembering it as Black Peter. And I said
the Belgian one.
So I was saying, yes, his name is Black Peter. Alex was saying, no, it most certainly is not. But he didn't remember the name. So I just Googled Black Peter. And I think about probably half an hour of the episode was us just marveling at this tradition, which for those blissfully unaware, and I cannot recommend enough turning off the podcast at this point to just remain unaware. Black Peter is in Dutch folklore Santa's black friend, I guess. Is how you would describe
Santa
him.
can say the word, all right?
Santa's black servant. And it's like, not to get ahead of ourselves, it's like the biggest culture war in the Netherlands.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, imagine all the culture wars in the U.S., condense it into one, and it's just like...
And it's the silliest thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so... But you have to... Okay, so one thing that I came... While researching all of this, there's one thing you have to remember about Dutch culture and Dutch politics in general, because, like, Dutch politics is, like, a myriad of, like, 12 different centrist parties all agreeing with the neo-Nazi party because they're scared of losing seats to them. And... But, like, the whole culture is just wrapped up in... constantly being bombarded with news stories of like in 30 years your entire country won't exist. So yeah, fuck it. Have an argument about this fucking like weird tradition or whatever. Because what else are you going to do?
Yeah,
they're an entire nation of doomers.
Basically, I mean, I think that the Netherlands is kind of a microcosm of post-war Western Europe social democracy, because they're like, we have like. You can do drugs, like sex work is legalized, we're tolerant and diverse, but then at the same time they're like, but you know, if you ever try to take away my precious blackface performer, this is all I have.
I will blow
it's like I will, yeah. Like,
And my read on it has been that it's a very specific set of people within the Netherlands. Like, it doesn't seem like this is like, it is a big culture war, but it doesn't seem like this is a majority-held position that Black Peter is okay.
I regret to inform you that is the vast majority opinion.
Hell yes.
It splits on like people who are like, I actively want to change it, but then like if you phrase the question as, let me pull it up. If you phrase the question, for example, as is Black Peter racist? Let me just pull up Wikipedia quickly. So according to a 2013 survey, upward of 90% of the Dutch public said Zwarte Piet is not a racist character. And they don't associate him with slavery, and they are opposed to altering the character's appearance. That's changed a little bit. I got another one here that says in 2018, studies showed that between 80 and 88% of the Dutch public did not perceive Zwarte Piet as racist.
Don't look into that number.
And
by the time we get below 50%, it will be the North Sea. Yeah. Like, it won't be a thing anymore.
It's like, you know those very sad photos they post of like a polar bear on a little, like one little piece of ice?
Yeah.
It's just one spot to beat.
It's just one spot to beat on the, like a little ice cube.
The highest point in the Netherlands, which is like 4 meters off the ground.
It's so tiny.
Yeah, there's that fucking song playing. You get the commercial, you know, midday when you're sitting at home, and it's like, in the eyes of an angel.
But it is worth pointing out that, so it also says here between 41 to 54% say they're happy. Oh no, sorry, that's with the new style. So no, they love Zwarte Piet.
There's nothing. They love
There's
it.
nothing to hold on
They're
to.
fucking hogs for
But
it.
it's worth pointing out that like I do think there's a difference between active Zwarte Piet diehard defenders, who we will get into, and then just like the tradition in the country. Yeah.
There was, so what happened after the episode is I tweet at Ballin' Out Super being like, this was great that you guys discovered that Europe was trash, because you also talked about Graham Linehan on the episode, who was like, yeah, he wrote like all my favorite TV shows, and now he's just got insane via the website Mumsnet, which is like a British mums interest portal forum thing that just turns everyone who goes into it incredibly transphobic.
Those mums will drive you crazy.
They will, yeah. And it's like all of that just combined, and then I was like, oh, you guys discovered, I think I did the anagram ZP, because there's a reason you have to do that when talking about it on the internet. because these people will Google the full thing's Fata Piet.
Yeah, like Graham Linehan, you have to.
Yeah, did I fuck it up? Did I say the full name?
You summoned
blew
them.
our
You
cover.
said fucking Voldemort.
Jeremy, this is your burn
Jesus.
notice. You're getting cut out. You're too dangerous to the operation.
It's
This
like
is actually your canceling.
yeah, it's like a Beetlejuice.
Yeah, basically. Bloody Mary into a mirror 3 times.
Yeah,
so-
so Zwarte Piet shows.
No, just the fucking,
I asked for Bloody Mary.
no, it's just a sweaty, red-faced, like just Dutch man, just
Yeah, more potato than person
Yeah.
at this point. Yeah.
yelling at you in the weirdest English you've ever heard in your entire life. But it's also like grammatically perfect though too. Like
Either very archaic German or very modern English. It's very hard to tell what Dutch is.
So I do think this topic checks a lot of boxes for our podcast, though, because it's a hilariously extreme example of European culture. And it's a bit of a microcosm for a lot of political, culture, war, these kind of thing. The specifics are different, but there's some version of this, even if not as extreme, going on in a lot of places around Europe.
Yeah.
And lest you feel out of place, Jeremy, if it's not clear, Nick and I are American. And part of this podcast is this American gaze, at least from my perspective, on Europe, and the mixing of the cultures. So you will fit right in.
Right.
Just, you know.
Well, that's been the big
as a React video.
That's been the big stumbling point for me when talking about ZP online. Is that is that there is this sort of weird. I mean, there's the talking point that they seem to like lock into, that they all understand it to be, which is that like identity politics is a distinctly American thing, and that by telling us that that our little blackface boy is actually racist, like you are actually doing American colonialism to us, and that's bad. And then the other thing that I hear a lot of, and this is like not an unfair critique, which is America has plenty to clean up of their own before they critique. But then you're like, but I'm not a representative of America. You know, I am, and I mean, I guess I am, but I'm not like.
Jeremy, stop doing all the racism and
Well, it's
let
like
them
you have
do
to.
racism.
It's like you have to, by arguing B, you have to accept A. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like when you say, like, you're right, we do have racism here. I can't really criticize you for Black Peter because we have police that murder black people. But then it's like, no, but then I'm accepting that what this is American colonialism that I'm doing to you.
Jeremy. Unfortunately, the Dutch also have police that murder black people.
Hey, come back with that one next
They're,
time.
like there's a
Surely
thing that,
it's a much lower rate than ours.
oh well, yeah, but that's like, I mean, you know, shoot for the stars. I mean,
Yeah.
you miss, you'll end up with the moon or whatever the fuck that phrase is. The thing that I think is just so interesting about, I think ZP is the perfect example of that, because most Americans, regardless of like where they are on, you know, where they're from, where they are on the political spectrum, whatever, like view Europe as this like other thing that's so far removed from the United States. It's just like, okay, yeah, like, you know, they have healthcare, they're less racist than the U.S. Like all these like weird, actually like probably like predominantly like New York Times reader interpretations of Europe, that then like, you know, if the US could just be like more like Europe, and then when they're like hit in the face of the reality, they're just like, oh, like, yeah, you think that like normal cut and dry American racism is bad. It's like fucking like find out about like, you know, people from the Balkans yelling at each other about like a little sliver of land that then just genetically makes you different. You
Right,
know?
yeah.
Like it's on a whole, I mean, obviously different historical circumstances, but nonetheless it's just so like Europe is like, I guess the only way like to just describe it is just like, it's just Eurotrash. Like it just is, it's unsexy, it's incredibly racist, and it's quaint for Americans though somehow, you know?
Yeah.
Like an Italian dude, you know, catcalling you in a tracksuit for whatever reason is something that then, you know, maybe a writer of the New York Times thinks is just Italian culture or whatever the fuck it is. You know?
Sexual
Well,
assault,
yes.
Italian culture.
Well, there's things that I feel get swept under, and there's things that I feel kind of like rise to the top, right? Because the things like the Italian catcalling is something that you wouldn't see in like a New York Times thing, but like things like prisons closing for lack of business, like that's something you'll hear about, and you'll be like, "Wow, Europe, huh? What a progressive place! I can't believe it," you know. You just don't hear about the like catcalling or Black Peter or anything like that, you know?
All right, so I'm going to get into the topic. Maybe a good way to think about this for both you, Jeremy, and the listener is think of this as we are arming you with a list of arguments to make. If your mentions get swarmed by Späti Piet defenders, here's the information you need to know to defend yourself.
Yeah, it's
good. And this is going to be very valuable to me after having my name associated with a podcast about him.
Yeah, it's
Did you see that they were replying to that thread like a week after?
A week
it happened?
later, yeah.
Hell yeah, there's that's fucking dedication, defending your Dutch culture.
All right, so first we need to talk about number one stepping block. People are like, "Wow, you're dumb. Sinterklaas is not the same as Santa Claus, and this is not Christmas." So what this holiday is in the Netherlands is Saint Nicholas Day, basically, and this holiday exists in several countries in Europe, Germany, a few other countries. It's on December 5th in the Netherlands. Although most countries it's December 6th, and it's kind of like Christmas, but not Christmas. We did a whole episode on it, so we can't get into all the details here. But basically, the background is that saint. Every day has a saint. So on December 6th is Saint Nicholas. That is the saint for that day in the calendar. And he's the patron saint of children and some other stuff.
Sauce.
And so, somehow with some Catholic...
St. Nicholas pictured with
Patron saint of sex workers as well.
Yeah, it was...
Patron saint of sex workers as well.
nice.
Don't look into it.
It's
we replaced Späti Piet with a far less offensive title.
No, it's because there's
Jeffrey
a story
Epstein.
of him. No, it's because there's a story of him helping a sex worker out when
That
he
is
lived
right.
in Turkey, aka Greece.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's from Turkey, this saint.
Yeah, no, he's Greek.
But
Fucking into that.
and so this was a more Catholic tradition because they're like every day, like, why not? Let's have some. Let's have some
of course.
celebrations.
Catholics love
day.
saints.
Yeah, so that was a big thing. Christmas came about. I don't remember the exact connection, but Christmas, like, I know Martin Luther was like, we're not doing St. Nicholas Day, only celebrating Christmas. That was the more Protestant stuff. But St. Nicholas Day has survived into the present as a pretty big day. At least in Germany, kids clean their shoes and leave their shoes outside, and then candy appears. Or candy, right? Yeah. Or chocolates.
Yeah.
And in the Netherlands, it's more of a bigger deal. I think people give presents and stuff too. And there's the figure of Saint Nick isn't exactly the same as Santa Claus. There's different representations of this, saint figure. Yeah. But the Dutch representation was the basis for the American Santa Claus. So it kind of looks like Santa Claus, and it is the
before Coca-Cola turned him red, and
that is who Santa is based off of. But
and
when
so are we doing
people come at you?
Sorry, so we're doing St. Nicholas Day in addition to Christmas, or
we're doing Christmas in July, baby.
Usually both, because it's like, why not? But Christmas is in a lot of places like an importation. Like, okay, we'll do that too. Oh, and Saint Nicholas Day is the bigger day.
I was saying off mic, but like they've been for the last 20 years, they've been trying to introduce Christmas to like Christmas as we know it, like December 25th, you get presents from Santa Claus. They've been trying to introduce that to Spain for like the last 20 years, and it just won't catch on for the life of the kids. Just do not give a fuck about it. They're just like St. King's Day. There's 3 guys who come and give me presents. Why would I want presents from 1 guy when I can get presents from 3 guys?
Damn right.
Yeah.
That's fucking smart.
All right. Here's where we get into it. So, figure of St. Nicholas Day, celebrated in several countries. In medieval iconography, St. Nicholas is sometimes presented as taming a chained demon who may or may not be black.
Oh, no.
Now I want the class to put down their copy of Black Skin White Masks by Frans Fanon. And
However, no hint of a companion, demon, servant, or any other human or human-like fixed companion to the saint is found in visual and textual sources from the Netherlands from the 16th until the 19th century. Okay, so that's important. So for a long time in the Netherlands, there's just a Saint Nick dude. There are older associations that he tames a demon or something, but that is not present for a long time in the Netherlands. According to a long-standing theory first proposed by Carl Meisen, Späti Piet and his equivalents in Germanic Europe were originally presented as one or more enslaved demons forced to assist their captor. These chained and fire-scorched demons may have been redeveloped as black-skinned humans during the early 19th century in the Netherlands in the likeness of Moors who work as servants for St. Nicholas. So, number one, the Späti defenders love saying that their tradition is older than your fucking country, man. And where do you get off of? Yeah. No, it was literally invented in the early 19th century when Europe is like colonizing the whole world. Is like, remember that demon? What if we brought that back, but it was a black person now? and we told this to all our children.
Yeah, we need to contextualize this for the modern world. Yeah, what if it's a slave?
So it's one of the gritty reboots we did.
So this is important because I mentioned there's Saint Nick and Saint Nicholas Day in several other European countries, and there is a servant sidekick figure to Saint Nick in several countries, and it is kind of like a servant. Sometimes it's like mean, or it'll punish the children, or sometimes it's like the nice one.
Right.
And crucially,
Santa's the mean one in some.
I don't know, dude. All right, we got to keep it moving. Listen to our old Christmas episode. Crucially, sometimes this person is presented in blackface. In Switzerland, for example, it's called Schmutzli, which means like little dirty one.
Yeah, of course.
The Swiss.
Is there like do they have like a Yiddish connection there? Is there are there a lot of Jews in Switzerland?
No, Schmutz is also the German word for dirty.
Yeah, and I guess Yiddish is just like it's just a spin-off of German.
Like that's how all the German I learned was from just watching American TV set in New York. When I got to Germany and they pointed at like a broken ticket machine and they said, "Das ist kaputt," and I'm like, "Kaputt! Oh my god!"
That's a real word.
Yeah, it's a real word. I thought it was just.
I always assumed half of Yiddish
nonsense.
is just like we make it up, and then everyone's like, "Yeah, it's a Yiddish word."
Okay, but crucially here, like the German character is Knecht Ruprecht. There's a French one I'm not going to try to pronounce. Sometimes in blackface, but
the French one is just a series of Algerian slurs.
But crucially, only in the Netherlands has this for some reason been like, no, always blackface all the time. If you ever try to, like, it has always been this way. And if you so much as suggest that Späti Piet isn't in blackface, you're ruining the childhood of every single Dutch child.
Yeah. So so there's one little addition I want to put onto this because I've had this discussion many a time of which European country is the most racist. A pissing contest if there ever was one.
Yep.
But like I always heard like, oh, hey, the Netherlands, they have Späti Piet, so clearly they're the most racist. And then people would just be like, well, Belgium also has Späti Piet, and then they did the Belgian Congo. So
right, yeah.
Yeah. So let's continue. And just blackface in general in Europe, it's a thing. This little Sambo figures, like in any, like a restaurant in Germany, if they're like, oh, we're going to have like, there's literally a restaurant in a mall next to where I used to live called like Louisiana Kitchen or something. And they just had like 5 different blackface little statues. It's an excuse to just go wild. Like
there was
for an American themed restaurant.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you should see what we think of you over here.
Yeah, there was.
I do appreciate that. That's like what. That's what we've exported as like the image of like, yeah, this is American entertainment, of course.
There was that thing of a bunch of German Instagram influencers, like quote unquote, in solidarity for George Floyd, doing blackface.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
That was the thing.
It would just come up in my TikTok feed. It was terrible.
Yeah, and then there was a bunch of Americans like finding out about that and being, but yeah, it's a topic that then.
Yeah, like
Germans are very, or just Europeans in general, just are like very confused about. They're like, oh, I can't dress up like this.
The huge like laundry list of like baked goods that are all just various slurs.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's also just like the big fight in Germany of just there is a main street that is German N-word street in Berlin, and everyone's like, please change this.
Please, just for the love of God.
And it's also
think of the children, Kieran.
But it's also like. But isn't that also the street where the like carving up of Africa happened in like the 1800s? That's where like the
council or the whatever it was.
You gotta imagine there's a reason.
Yeah. So they're just like, this is where it happened, and we've called it like N-word Street. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's to remember, Kieran. All right.
So again, all this background isn't we're not picking on the Netherlands. There's a lot of blackface and racism in Europe. This specific tradition is even in several other countries. Yeah. But no one matches the Netherlands when it comes to how all out they go for St. Nicholas Day and for Zwarte Piet. We're talking Zwarte Piet face on packaging, on shows, in parades, videos, performances, songs. Like, we have Christmas songs. It's just like someone head to toe in blackface at Zwarte Piet singing some song that's on the radio in the Netherlands. Like, and schools is a big thing because schools will have like celebrations.
Why would you get up in blackface for a radio performance?
I need to do it to get into it's method acting.
Well, it's like Ollie was telling me the other day that he like files his nails to points to play Dracula because like he just read in the book that like Dracula has pointy fingernails. I'm like, but you're on stage, like nobody can see your fingernails.
Well, we just get acrylic nails then.
It's not the
Never
same.
mind. I'm not gonna.
Not the same.
Now
you're gonna say that you can just have Sooty Pete's, huh? That's not the same.
We'll get to those.
So. I don't know if we have anything else to add about the scope, like to give context of how big this is in the Netherlands.
I mean, the only thing that came out recently was when like the George Floyd protests started happening in the States, like the mini insurrection that happened over there. Like the Dutch response was to create the website Zwarte Piet Lives Matter. And I'm like, oh no.
There you go. Classic comeback.
Yeah, classic.
So the last thing I want to say is that the modern version of this myth, again, they act like this ancient tradition, was invented in 1852 by a Dutch school teacher.
Yeah.
And that's when like the specifics of like Sinterklaas comes from Spain and comes on a steamship to the Netherlands with Zwarte Piet, this, just Moorish. I don't know what the character's supposed to be, but they're always in blackface.
Yeah, it changes, doesn't it? Because like sometimes there's some stories where it is a white person.
Yeah,
and then
it's very flexible.
They fall down a chimney.
Yeah, they fell down a chimney, but it's stuck on them forever.
And it also gives them big red lips for some reason.
Exactly. Oh, I forgot to say that part. Yeah, they're like, So
and curly hair.
A lot of times the Zwarte Piet, character will have bright lips, curly hair, just all sorts of kind of gaudy. Everything associated with minstrelsy and the like history of minstrel performances in the U.S. and around the world. So that's all I want to say about the history. Should we do a little political Dutch politics side quest here? Collect some tokens about what's going on in Dutch politics.
I think it's worth pointing out that I really hate Dutch politics. Why?
It sounds like such a great place.
When I first got into it, like there's people being like, "Oh, Kieran, you can like weirdly recall things from like Serbian elections that happened like 8 years ago." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, my brain is broken." But I get into Dutch politics as like all these parties look like garbage, and it was recently proven that even all the left-wing ones like voted against like rent relief during Corona time. So yeah, they're all garbage. But we do have like the main defenders of Zwarte Piet are two parties. One is Party for Freedom, PVV.
I mean, it says it right in the name.
Right in the name.
Freedom to do blackface.
Yeah, Freedom Party.
That's the only freedom that's
the only freedom that
exists.
Which is run by Geert Wilders, a guy who looks like a Bond villain.
Oh yeah.
He dyes his hair blonde to hide his Indonesian heritage, which is a very particular move, I guess.
What?
Yeah,
because it would be like black hair.
Yeah, and he would look more Indonesian.
Yeah,
apparently.
So for those who don't know, because this is going to come up later with like the specific colonial relationship in the Netherlands had Indonesian colonies like East Indies, quote unquote, and West Indies.
Yeah,
and the West Indies are, I think, a lot of the characterizations of Zwarte Piet are associated with like black, like enslaved people who are in the West Indies colonies, and that's maybe. There's one writer, I'm going to find her name after. Wacker was her name. Is that like the Indonesia serves as kind of like a screen memory for like some post-colonial Dutch, like a processing of colonialism. So like they can't quite reach the like all the atrocities committed in the West Indies and slavery. We're still going to do blackface. We're not going to deal with that now. But like, wow, we really messed up in Indonesia. Like that was. I'm going to do penance for that. Like it's just a little bit of penance you can accept, to do better. But you can't get everything. Like it's by definition it starts constrained.
It's the kind of colonial atrocity past that they are willing to pay like lip service to acknowledge, basically.
And there were a lot of Dutch settlers in Indonesia, and like I said earlier, the Netherlands does pride itself, especially the main cities, on being quite diverse. And yeah, there are a lot of Dutch settlers and mixed race Dutch and Indonesian people who are now back in the Netherlands.
So like, yeah, and I think actually the Indonesian heritage thing will illustrate like these two differences between these two right-wing parties in the Netherlands, because PVV is headed up by this guy who basically just outright denies his Indonesian heritage, even though it's been like written about. It doesn't go that like back that far.
Also, before we move on from Geert Wilders, his Twitter was hacked in the great Twitter hack of what was that, last week, 2 weeks ago?
Well, all the checkmark accounts got hacked.
Yeah, and they made this. Well, actually, we were discussing before. We don't know if this was his profile picture already, but like a quite offensive like. Blackface drawing was his profile photo, and all the tweets were just like, should I leak the DMs? But then nothing came of that, right?
I don't think so. I have to check back in with the Dutch people that I talked to, but like, yeah, they changed his like cover image to a Moroccan flag. And he was also sharing a lot of, like, when it was hacked, he just kept retweeting a lot of like Palestinian solidarity stuff. 'Cause that's the stuff that he would not share himself.
Yeah, he's just to give a little taste of Geert Wilders. He's compared the Quran to Mein Kampf.
He
in his campaign to have the book banned in the Netherlands.
He had a Muhammad drawing competition once.
I mean, that's classic. That's European culture.
Yeah, you just want to associate yourself in every possible way with people like that. You know, when you're trying to prove, you know, your little tradition isn't racist. That's definitely that's who you want.
By popular vote, this is the second biggest party in the Netherlands.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, should have maybe. Yeah.
Just
for context.
Just for context.
Yeah, so that's what I was trying to figure out. Is this like a fringe, like smaller party? No, this is like challenging for like I guess they have like a prime minister, I imagine.
Yeah, they're kind of headed up by like a centrist, center-right kind of pragmatic person who just keeps adopting the like far right's policies kind of thing.
The thing I find so funny with Geert Wilders as well is that wasn't he also one of the people in the Steve Bannon documentary that just like wanted nothing to do with Steve Bannon?
Yeah.
Well, Geert Wilders has kind of a history. He's almost like because he's a bit older. Like he had his rise before the recent Le Pen Salvini surge, and a lot of them like. There's someone else I was thinking
he
of, but I
predicts
blanked.
Trump quite a bit, and he's very Trump-like.
Yeah. But that was the thing of that then...
It was almost like, yo, this is my stuff. You're all stepping on my scene. But
that's the thing.
I'm the racist.
Geert Wilders was already like incredibly established within the European far right. That then when Steve Bannon was like, I'm making the fucking Justice League of Racism, and like no one wanted to join him except for what's his name from the UK?
Farage.
Yeah, Nigel Farage was the only one who was like, "Oh, well, Steve
but he was
Bannon,
he was out of politics at that point.
Yeah, exactly. But it was just like European racism was like European far right racist parties were like already like, you know, Steve Bannon coming here was just like did nothing for them. They all just like they shunned him. They sent like like interns to go and meet with him and shit like that. Like. Yeah, but Geert Wilders is definitely like a celebrity amongst the far right, to say the least.
Yeah. However, he's had his like toes stepped on a little bit by this other party called Forum for Democracy, which is headed up by a guy called Thierry Baudet. And the interesting contrast of him is Thierry Baudet also has Indonesian heritage, but he uses that as an excuse of how he isn't racist while saying that Europe should be like 99% white.
What is with all these Indonesian guys?
Remember how he said that actually Europe is Asia? Well
again, Europe, it's very simple. Just read the New York Times. You don't have to get into all this stuff. You can still back out now. Yeah.
Why are they all Indonesian guys? What the fuck?
I don't. Yeah, but it's like. So I guess
they want to give me a fucking hard time for trying to export American racist like idpol onto them, and they're letting their whole country's far right be dictated by Indonesian people.
Well, hang on. Not even that. Like Thierry Baudet, the other side of his family is like Wallonian. He's like a French Belgian. So it's
just disgusting.
Yeah, no, the Dutch hate these people. They think they're subhuman scum. But anyway. But he's like, to put it into the American context of what Forum for Democracy is, it's if the Jordan Peterson grift was turned into a political party.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
So they're fucking smart, all right? Yeah. They can fucking debate.
It's like...
Yeah, of course.
Looking at any pictures of like, Young Forum for Democracy, JFED, is like, it is just a screenshot of what you imagine in your head of like briefcase kids. Of just like the kind. Yeah.
But there are a lot of briefcase kids in the Netherlands.
Yes.
That's the problem. Again,
It's a country of briefcase kids, as I've come to understand it.
well, just look at the reactions to Späti Piet. The number one reaction are to be pedants about Christmas. They're like, actually, Santa Claus is not the same as Santa Claus, and it shows your ignorance that you would conflate the two.
And put it into context for everyone, Forum for Democracy, while not like super high in the polls, I mean, they're pretty up there for Dutch politics. They are the largest party in the Netherlands by membership. So, hooray for that. They recently got outed for a bunch of like anti-Semitic shit they said in some WhatsApp groups. Like a lot of Dutch like
I'm not even like phased anymore by European anti-Semitism.
No.
Like,
No,
That's
it's just it seems to exist at a very just like almost like an undercoat, you know,
Yeah.
like when you prime a wall before you paint it.
No. It was invented in the 30s and it wasn't there before and it wasn't there after. Stop asking. Okay, to give an example of like, because again, the Dutch Späti Piet defenders will always try to clown on you about like how Dutch humor is so great because they do blackface.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, here's an example of some good Dutch humor. Annabel Nanninga, an FED representative in the Dutch Senate, repeatedly made anti-Semitic jokes on Twitter in her previous role as politically incorrect shock journalist for Green Steel. In November 2014, she wrote, quote, "Just now buying some Mein Kampfs. You can't start your shopping for Christmas presents early enough. Silent night, Zig Heily night," end quote. That's Dutch humor.
damn. Fucking,
Damn.
I'm
Look, you know what?
I am rolling on on the floor laughing right now.
All right, hold
You
on.
ever notice that Heil sounds like whole?
I'm
from
gonna.
holy?
All right, hold on.
Kind
I'm
of.
putting on my.
It's got a H.
Oh, because no, maybe in Dutch it sounds different though because
No, this was tweeted in English.
what a fucking idiot. Because all right, so holy in German is heilig, which would then like make
It's a solid pun if it was done in German, but this was a Dutch person speaking in English.
oh god damn.
But even
right, hold
still,
on.
it's too crammed into the stanza.
All
It's
right.
bad regardless. It's just stupid. But
Hold
I'm
on.
just like I'm trying
Hold
to
on.
like all right, maybe like
Look, this was 180 character Twitter. All right, we didn't, none of us could do well.
I got to put on my, you know how like the op-ed pages of like the New York Times and the Washington Post. So imagine I'm Jeffrey Goldberg or James Bennett or something. And I'll be like, hey, you know what? I don't care what your views are. If you can write a good joke, you can tweet here. We'll take you in. And you know, she's just making good jokes. That's just good comedy.
Didn't read the joke beforehand.
That's that was possibly my favorite part of the Twitter interaction that led to this podcast episode when Kieran and I were going at these ZP fellas, because the guy was like, you wouldn't understand Dutch humor, it's way too edgy for you Americans, like you don't fucking get it. And I just kept insisting, like, just send me some Dutch comedy. I was like, send me. I am ready to learn. I'm ready to be floored by Dutch comedy. I'm sure there's a Dutch Dave Chappelle. Send me Dutch Dave Chappelle. Send me your best stand-up. And the guy just kept being like, you couldn't handle it.
yeah,
Your brain will explode.
it's literally the
My
fucking,
my girlfriend lives in Canada.
Yeah, it's literally the like the Dutch Dave Chappelle skit would be like the KKK episode, but it's just that it's a Dutch dude who joins the SS, which is like not far from the truth at all.
It's just like a stand-up guy acting out all those Tintin comics that existed when Tintin was a Nazi.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, is this crazy? Like, I don't.
For the 30s only, until Belgium is free.
It's the classic Chappelle Show sketch where he's like it's like the recreation of the movie The Matrix, but it's the recreation of like the triumph of the will.
Literally, there is the fucking like Dutch peak Dutch comedy is drawing a photo of Muhammad.
Yeah.
Like that is exactly like it's like, oh, we're doing this because it's ironic. By the way, we're also massively Islamophobic. Like it's always just as a
Also,
fucking
we're like
guise.
30% of Twitch for some reason.
How could I be Islamophobic? I love drawing a Muslim, a very particular Muslim.
Well, just to tie Späti into this, it's very interesting because sometimes a lot of the responses to like the Späti, again, they're like, "Oh, you're doing identity politics." Then a lot of times the next sentence is this like, "This is what happens with all these like Muslims taking over our country. They want to get rid of our Späti." So it like just goes to that immediately.
So that is basically like Geert Wilders.
Sharia law specifically says no Späti.
I remember that bit. Yeah. So PVV, like Geert Wilders' party, will go that route. They're the like it. We were fine with Späti until white people and Indonesians came here. By the way, I'm not Indonesian. Don't look into it. But like, yeah, they'll blame that. But the FED, because they're like Thierry Baudet's pseudo-intellectualism, will start talking about like this word that I introduced to Nick a few minutes ago, oikophobia, which is a word that like
Fear of
oinking.
fear of the house. Or
Yeah,
whatever,
oiko is like Greek for household.
Damn, read Animal Farm once and you just start talking about oinkophobia.
But like, this is a word that only Thierry Baudet uses and Thierry Baudet's thesis supervisor invented. And it's just like Dutch people hate their own country, and that's why they want to get rid of Zwarte Piet.
Good, keep it. Yeah, use that self-hatred.
Yeah,
It has not been my experience, personally, that Dutch people hate their country. I simply cannot express enough how obsessed with their own country they all seem to be.
I'm really curious because there was that graph of like where they asked every European country, do you think that your culture is better than other European
that was
cultures?
such a wild.
And then like
survey.
The general consensus was like, kind of half and half.
Yeah.
And then Greece just wilding out 89%. Like,
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
We invented culture.
Yeah, literally. And I just like looked at that and I'm like, one, I'm not surprised. Like, am I mad though? Like,
No.
Why are you booing? I'm right.
I don't think I've ever met somebody who's a little bit Greek. It just doesn't exist.
no, of course not. It's you're either you're in or you're not. But yeah, no, I want to go back and look at that and see
What the
Netherlands is.
It was surprisingly low. It was a weird survey.
Fuck, they do hate their country.
No,
though.
it's because the Dutch answer is like very similar to the Swedish answer, which was be like, do you think your culture is superior to others? And they'll be like, well, I'm going to answer no. And that's why we're superior.
Yeah. Okay, I want to get into. So we got the political background, we got the historical background. We have a little bit of lay of the land of the right wing in the Netherlands, which again, this is
a substantial amount of
a substantial amount of the population in the like affiliated with the right wing party, voting for right wing party, or just pro Zwarte Piet. But nevertheless, there have been some attempts to address the issue. Okay. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say up front that this is like decades long work from especially like non-white Dutch people, people from like black Dutch people or any other other people of color. Mostly. Yeah, in the Netherlands who are like, this is like, imagine the past 20 years at least being like, can you fucking stop? Like, why?
Just anything else, any other thing.
Yeah. And it's finally, I mean, it's like picked up steam again. I mean, we read the surveys at the beginning of the episode, but it's gained a little bit of traction, just a tiny bit.
I figured out how we can end Zwarte Piet.
Yeah.
Put a fatwa out against him.
They'll love that.
Yeah. All right.
But but wasn't the survey of just like 90% of Dutch people think it's fine, and after 10 years we've whittled that number out down to a huge victory of 88% of Dutch people think it's fine. This is a huge victory for us. Yeah. Tragic.
But nevertheless, it has become, like I said, a national conversation, and this cultural back and forth. So much so that companies have had to do something. And if there's anything that crosses borders and unites all of us in a common experience, it is a company being like, we are going to address this issue, and basically doing nothing.
I love all the non-problematic Dutch companies telling me what to do. What does Unilever have to say about this? Or the Royal Shell Company?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I wonder how
think black is
Randstad
good.
is going to be addressing this going forward.
We love black and everything black, and there's a giant oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
So I just want to, well, I think we can't go any farther without introducing the either solution to all the problems or the end of Dutch civilization, which is the Sudi Piet.
Yes.
Which
well,
is-
okay, so can I wait before we do that though, can I introduce
please.
the other really funny one they tried?
Okay, go on, go on.
The Rainbow Pete.
Oh, what?
Have you guys seen Rainbow Pete?
I don't know. That's a very rare Pete. I don't know about the Rainbow Pete.
So this was, and I don't have like that much info to back this. I did not do a lot of research. I just found it funny. But before like Sooty Pete, they tried Rainbow Pete, which is just the same exact thing, but with different colors.
Oh, this
So
all
do,
they look like
they do
Skittles.
like red Pete, blue Pete, yellow Pete, and it's like it's just like using like you remember Nickelodeon's Doug? It's like using Doug rules.
Yeah, it's Santa and all his best friends. Skeeter.
Honk honk.
Oh, I didn't know Skeeter was a Moor.
No. Jeremy, that is a perfect example because one of the go-to solutions is, so the first one I have on my list is in 2015, I apologize in advance for all these mispronounced Dutch words.
Don't
The
you do.
Bijenkorf, the Bijenkorf department store chain opted to replace holiday displays featuring Zwarte Piet with a golden-skinned version instead. Again, it seemed like Easter eggs or something.
Guys, you love opening your like Pokemon card booster pack and you get a gold sword of these.
Yeah, you got the holographic Pete.
Shine. I can't remember when I
It
caught
doesn't
a
do
shining
anything
Piet.
extra in the game, but it's just cool to have.
Yeah, 1 in 10,000 Peets you catch in your gold or silver Pokemon will be a shining Piet.
Yeah. Shiny Pete.
What else do we have here? Well, I should go back to the Sooty Piet, which is, I think we have to put the photos in the description because people probably don't know what we're talking about. And what it is it's like clearly like just some, almost like maybe like a football player who like sweated a bit and like the kind of,
Yeah.
what's the stuff they put under their eyes? It kind of
eye
got
black
stuff,
the
whatever
eye
it is.
black, and now it's kind of all around their face.
The Rambo stuff.
Yeah.
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 That's like, okay, now that's the Pete, and that will be enough for the Pete. But
Because
like,
the idea is that they've revised the story of Zwarte Piet, that he's not actually Saint Nick's slave. He's actually Saint Nick's friend who went down the chimney for him, got chimney soot all over him, and that's why he has big red lips and curly hair. That's what's happened to him. So now they're like,
you ever fallen
can we
down
make
a
this
chimney?
more apparent? You know, can we make it clearer that this is chimney soot? So it just looks like
I thought this was just going to be like honkball, Pete. Honkball is the Dutch word for baseball.
oh yeah.
Yeah, and
that's a very funny word.
Take me out to the honk. Oh,
Hey, like
Skeeter's
baseball's
here
like
again.
baseball's like kind of big in the Netherlands out of like European countries. So I'm putting that like Santa's helper got a hobby that the American colonialism brought to him.
I like that sometimes they still insist that Zwarte Piet is just a chimney sweep who got some soot on their face, but they are Spanish or Italian specifically. That's literally one of the
Dutch person would
revisions.
never do that word.
Yeah, we can't help who works in those trades.
No, it's just like a Dutch person's superior brain pan would never fall down a chimney. That's for like a Southern Italian or an Andalusian.
Was it the Netherlands that had that magazine
Yes,
cover
yes.
of like
Yes.
of like
Yeah.
Explain the
Italian
cover for
Stalin?
our
Yeah,
guys.
Italian Stalin. So, like, a huge scandal, again, to rehash for people a couple episodes ago, of basically, like, the Netherlands are holding out for this idea that, no, the Netherlands will not pay to recover the other European economies during coronavirus times. Going back to the classic 2008, everyone south of Switzerland is lazy and super hot and just drinks coffee and wine all day and don't do any work, even though all the economies north of Switzerland are just basically giant tax dodging. Like shit, yeah.
Again, and this was absurd in 2008 when the world economy was collapsing, and they're like retreading it now during the coronavirus collapse.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like as coronavirus is just like exploding across Europe, they're like, nope,
Yep.
nope, no bonds. We cannot spend.
We are going
You are
back to
lazy.
1910s racism. All Italians are now no longer white. I think this is a great move for the Dutch. So the magazine cover,
It had factory working Dutch people.
factory
which
working doesn't exist.
doesn't exist. Yeah.
That country deindustrialized in the fucking, I don't know, 1800s. And like a woman in a pencil skirt after her important office job, and then
of tax evasion.
of tax evasion, like claiming every purchase IKEA ever made in Europe happened in Amsterdam for tax purposes. It's an important job. And then the bottom half of the cover is just like what does look like Stalin in a crushed velvet shirt lying on a beach, and
And his like Instagram influencer girlfriend, just like
it was literally like a woman on her phone being like, "Damn,
being on all the social media at the same
YouTube.
time, and YouTube.
Yeah, I love getting the coronavirus while the Dutch do all the hard work for us. Please retweet.
Oh God! Imagine what Italian TikTok is like.
oh, we need to find it."
No.
Kieran, I'm sending you the link so you can send it to Jeremy.
It's just like 13-year-old boys in tracksuits being racist.
But
Just
that's-
big,
that's-
like it's like fail compilations, but it's all just harassing women on the street.
but like none of it looks like to the observer. None of it looks like it's failed or succeeded. But they just then put the word for Italian fail over it, and then
It's
like
literally-
a spring sound effect.
Yeah, it's literally just that fucking clip from Italian Spider-Man over and over and over again of like, "Hey, Bella, che bella melone," and then just
Yeah.
like,
Get me a macchiato pronto.
I really like the idea of like right-wing Italian TikTok where it's just that special type of racism they do against other types of Italians.
Yes.
So it's like, hey, I'm from Lombardy. Here's my black friend. But if you're from Nepalese, you're a scum and I hate you.
I sent you the link to show Jeremy about that. So that little diversion was just to explain there are several other complexes going on in Dutch society about the other. But to go to the Sudi Piets, the annual televised parade, I think this was a couple years ago, took the step to like do like half and half.
Sorry, I'm looking at the picture.
Yeah,
now.
please.
Jeremy just got the picture. What do you think of Italian Stalin and his Instagram influencer girlfriend? Look at these lazy Southern Europeans.
Oh, I love it. I want to be them. I don't want to be the idiots at the top.
no one wants to be the Dutch.
The poor Dutch.
No.
So what I love about the Sudi Zwarte Piet is that even that, first of all, it's a compromise because they're like, okay, it'll just be kind of some smeared, use your imagination. It's like abstract painting. Like, everyone can be happy. But during the like big annual televised parade, they did half and half. So like half the Piets were the Sudi kind and half were the full blackface kind. And
We have to transition.
they said, quote, it respected both tradition and change.
I'm just imagining like just a fucking like red square like fucking 1949 like parade in Moscow, and it's just this.
The largest Dutch food retailer, Albert Heijn, announced that they would continue their practice of offering Sinterklaas items, some with Zwarte Piet and some without. They say they regret that some
you
may
good.
find these images hurtful, though others like them as part of the tradition. So customers have a choice.
If you like your racism, you can keep it.
Yeah.
But like, okay, so going back to the half and half stuff, because I also remember when this was happening. One time they did literally half and half on the person. So like there was a line directly down the middle of their face of one half was blackface and the other half was just the normal Dutch person.
Hey. In like 1963, this would have been like a really like out there Star Trek episode about like, race.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happened in the Dark Knight. Two-Face gets blackface on half his face. He's like, I can't be a district attorney anymore.
So
gonna go
has
flip coins
anybody
and stuff.
recommended the idea of just making it a regular black guy? Like, has anybody recommended to them, like, there
Okay.
are black people in your country, just hire them to play Zwarte Piet in these scenarios. Don't put the big red lips and stuff on him. Just make it a regular dude. It can still be part of the story that he's, like, Santa's black friend or whatever. Just make it a regular person and stop dressing up like him.
So, okay.
That's half the fun.
Yeah.
If not all of the fun for them.
That has actually been suggested, and there's some interesting like piece of information to go along with that, which is, first of all, whenever it's suggested, it's not popular for two particular reasons, which is, one, the white Dutch still want to just do their racism, so they don't really want to accept that. Yeah, these are the kind of people who think that like all the black people are taking the jobs, so if you literally get the black people to take the jobs, then it might be a problem.
My dad was working at the Zwarte Piet factory, and the town hasn't been the same since they shipped all the Zwarte Piet factories off to fucking Italy and Andalusia.
And then the other problem with it is a lot of black Dutch people don't want to do it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. But that has happened. So there is photos to show that actually Zwarte Piet is progressive, which is really funny because it will be a black person. There's one good one out there going to find it of like a black woman being Zwarte Piet, and then right beside a Dutch woman in blackface also being Zwarte Piet in the same parade.
Yeah. And speaking of compromise, I forgot one of the like popular compromise positions is like, okay, we'll get rid of all the other like big lips, hair and stuff, but they still get head to toe blackface. Like that's our compromise. Like seriously, I don't have an example in front of me, but I remember reading that multiple times. Like, and then everyone's happy. Come on.
I think that's them trying to do the whole chimney thing again. Of just like, okay,
again, permanent soot on your face.
we definitely can't explain
And, like,
the lips
perfect,
and hair thing.
fully saturated coverage, too, like happens in a
It
chimney.
was a dirty chimney.
Well, you guys are the anime people. Doesn't that sound like an anime story? Like you fall down a chimney once and then you're just
There is
and
there
you're
was
black
that,
forever, yeah.
you're black forever.
Similarly, there was I think that's in Inuyasha. There is a really bad Chinese washing detergent ad where this black guy is flirting with this Chinese housewife, and she's like, kind of into it, and lures him over, but then stuffs him into the washing machine, and he comes out as like a Han Chinese guy, and she's
Right.
like, now we can be together. It's a very disturbing ad, but like, it's similar.
Yeah. I do have an example here. Nickelodeon in the Netherlands decided to use a racially mixed group of actors to portray Pete. So they had just like a whole Pete gang. Like some were black, some were
I really like
some were
that
Asian,
picture of different colored
Indonesian.
Pete's, holding hands around the earth.
That is the way it should be. All the Pete's of the world.
That was the
Also,
first
for folks unaware of such things, Dutch Nickelodeon is of course called N-word Lodian.
we call it Dutch Nickelodeon for international purposes, but that's not what it was called there.
Again, it would hurt the children. You're taking away precious childhood memories if you want to change the name.
Look, this is a long Dutch tradition of whenever we got Dutch Nickelodeon, which I'm presuming was the early 90s. Yeah.
It was the 16th century.
The 16th century. We invented Nickelodeon.
Honestly, Dutch Nickelodeon's older than your country, bro. Why?
We called it Rocco's Ye Old Life here.
I got two more examples. One is, this is a great one. So in the Dutch-speaking Belgian region of Flanders, so, we're talking about Flanders, which is Dutch-speaking Belgium. So, maybe
Not like
different
the cool
ideas can come up.
French-speaking Belgium, which keeps voting for Marxists. I love them.
One city has already altered its tradition, switching the roles to make Sinterklaas a black man and Pete his white helper. There you go. So Santa is in blackface.
They
That's
Hamilton
very
did.
fun.
They did Hamilton to Sinterklaas.
He raps now too.
Yeah, Sinterklaas
That's so
raps.
funny.
How could a bastard chimney sweep, son of a...
Son of Italian.
But this might be the best example. Felix de Rooij, the director who helped stage a plan in Amsterdam to change it, has another idea. He recently suggested to the Dutch daily Handelsblad that Black Pete could be replaced by far less decisive figures of almost equal popularity in Holland and Belgium, the Smurfs.
Yes.
So instead of
Yes.
Zwarte Piet, just
Yes.
make them all Smurfs.
They're all Smurfs now.
Which honestly would solve the problem. Just make it. They love Smurfs. Just say, oh yeah, it's Smurfs. Yeah, in the Middle Ages,
Yeah,
that Turkish saint had Smurfs.
I forgot like how powerful just like the most powerful of European energy that the Smurfs are.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like,
European
mentioned-
cartoons are the best.
Didn't we mention it on a recent podcast? But like in France, there was like a big Smurf convention, right, when coronavirus was breaking out, and they were like, "Yeah, but the show must go on." And all
The
that.
Swiss Communist Party's logo is the Smurf hat in red.
wait, what?
I've seen
Yeah.
a million. I've seen so many like German anti-fascist like propaganda pieces that are like Smurfs kicking the shit out of Nazis and stuff.
Yes. Or it's the kid from the Haribo packets.
Yes,
Yeah.
uh-huh.
Oh yeah, of course. But there's even Smurf Haribo.
Yes, there is.
Yes, there
Uh-huh.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's your two favorite things of like Off-White and Supreme coming together for
Well,
the
like
collab.
you have to remember that Smurfs is like the only European cartoon where like characters wouldn't die and be gone forever, like Game of Thrones. Because all other European cartoons was like that. Your favorite character would just die and then be gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
What?
True.
Like
Oh,
on
yeah.
Doug, like Skeeter would like
okay,
get
so
cancer or
Skeeter,
something.
yeah, Skeeter fucking gets like leukemia.
Okay, a pan-European cartoon that I grew up with was called The Animals of Farthing Wood, which was about animals trying to find like a place to live, and the whole thing was a metaphor for Jews being smuggled out of Vichy France.
Okay.
Yeah, characters would die and they would be dead forever, and they would grow
Yeah,
up
but
and they would have kids.
how would they die? Is my question. Like,
I still cry when the like pheasant characters, where there's hunters going after the pheasant characters, the girl pheasant like breaks her leg and the guy pheasant decides to stay with her and die at the hand of the hunters.
what?
This is a children's cartoon, and I watched it and I loved it. I had a mural of it on my wall as a kid.
Oh my god.
Animals of Farthing Wood. Rules.
Jesus Christ! Just like Hey Arnold, like his grandpa dies in an accident in the home.
Yeah,
He
pretty much.
just slips in the kitchen and like just breaks his head open on the counter.
Grandpa forgot his life alert.
No,
Well, nobody was home. That was the saddest part.
No, the underlying
Arnold and
underlying-
Grandma were off at the fucking aquarium saving the giant
fucking
turtle, and
turtle.
Grandpa slipped
No, the
on some soap.
The underlying message would be that Arnold's grandpa couldn't afford the lifeline. Because that whole show was about poverty.
No, and then it starts the fucking episode with the help, I fall and I can't get up. Like Grandpa's watching that on TV at the beginning of it. A fucking like what are they called? Chekhov's gun, just like right there.
Yes. Let's get this. Let's get our dark Hey Arnold reboot going.
Harold was like kind of a dark show for the U.S. as well, though too. Like I mean, okay, Grandpa didn't die on the floor.
Arnold's parents did.
Yeah, true, but
His parents died.
never.
Yeah.
How did they die? Do we know?
Did they ever explain it? It's like an unreliable narrator thing because the whole thing was like, oh, they were spies, and they're like, you're a kid. I don't think that's true.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
They died when Hey Arnold went to the opera with his family.
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? And then Arnold grows up to be Batman, but everybody knows who he is because of his fucking head shape.
no, someone has definitely drawn fucking like Helga as what's her name?
Oh, just shut
Harley
the fuck up!
Quinn.
No, I'm done.
I already did it.
Anyway,
Yeah. So I want to end our Swat to Pete segment with some of the recent examples.
Those weren't the recent compromises.
that was all. That was a few years ago.
Oh damn!
Now it seems like
It's either gotten worse or better.
well, the main dividing line now is all about, I like the experimentation. I like the Smurfs. I like the swapping, making Santa do blackface.
Yeah.
But now it's all about the Sooty Pete's and the Swat to Pete's. And there's
I
also
hate the left dividing itself.
there's
all
also the
fucking
natural
time.
Pete's. So you got natural Pete's, Sooty Pete's, and Swat to Pete's. Natural Pete, I think, is just no.
it's just a Dutch
No,
guy in
not-
the costume,
exactly.
not wearing any blackface.
And then there's some kind of smeared,
yeah.
black paint, and then there's the full blackface. And so I'm reading one article here from last November about how The municipality of Deventer announced that at least a third of the Piets at the coming arrival event, so the day that fucking Santa arrives at the end of November, have to be Sooty Piets.
Steamboat.
Otherwise,
As is Dutch tradition, he arrives in a Volkswagen Beetle, just like he did in the Middle Ages.
so I love this because they're saying that the public parade festival will only be subsidized if at least a third of the Piets are Sooty Piets. So you can have up to 2/3 Svarte Piet, but no more than that. And they will be checking closely.
Why is this sounding more and more like the 3/5 compromise?
And basically all of these solutions are the 3/5 compromise. In order to protest this, so there were the anti-Svarte Piet, the hashtag 2020 Svarte Piet free group was there protesting. And to counter-protest, there were 80 people, including 15 Black Piets, so 15 counter-protesters in the full Black Piet makeup and costume. Again, it's not Svarte Piet season, but you're going to the counter demo to yell at the anti-Svarte Piet people, so you got to dress up as Svarte Piet.
Of course.
To protest the Sooty
in
Piets.
July, baby.
Remember, you got to protest the Sooty Piets as Svarte Piet.
Yeah.
I guess they're like the shock troops of the counter protesters. Like they're
It's so
the
much
elite
work.
units.
It's so much work to do to go to a protest.
But imagine how taking the time. I mean, all right. I've never put on blackface before. I imagine it takes a long time. For hours, they're getting ready.
I've done plenty of
doing
other
it.
types of face painting.
I'd imagine the principle's the same. I just sleep better at night.
I've
So
been
that-
like a witch before, and I've greened up. It
Can't believe
definitely
you would
wasn't a
admit that
short
on the
process.
What about wait, I have a proposal for them. They have to do the Darth Maul face paint.
Oh no.
They'll just be at home the whole time. They'll never get to protest.
Oh God, I wish we were alive to understand what was happening in the Netherlands in 1999 when episode 1 of Star Wars comes out, and then Christmas that year it is like Darth Maul Pete.
Or everyone's Jar Jar Pete.
That's all natural, Pete.
Actually, Jar Jar is that wasn't an offensive Jamaican weird Chinese accent thing he was doing. No, that was just Dutch.
But I mean, the ad campaign for episode 1 was just everywhere. There had to have been in the Netherlands
Some sort of
Darth Maul
corporation.
Of course. Or some fucking link up that we don't know about.
This has to be in some sort of terrible museum somewhere in Amsterdam.
So in Groningen, which is I think like a pretty big student city, there will be no Zwarte Piets at this coming St. Nicholas Day. Only Sooty Piets, they say. You can still be Sooty.
So progressive.
They will measure. They will scan your face to see if you've put on
they've
too
got those
much.
infrared thermometers. They
Yeah,
use
too much
to check your
blackface.
temperature. It's just like, oh no,
No, it's fucking real. No.
Jeremy has just sent us Darth Pete, and it is Darth Maul. It's terrible.
I hate the Netherlands. I fucking hate the Netherlands.
Oh yes, hang on, no, it gets better. This is the episode art. I'm sorry. We're now looking at Joker Pete.
That is what needs to be done. The Joker Pete needs to, rise up.
Joker Pete is definitely that's the move.
The plan is simple. We kill Santa Claus.
Do you want to know how I got this racist?
I fell out of chimney.
So I'll leave it here. Rutte, I don't actually know how to say his name. Rutte.
Mark Rutte.
Mark Rutte,
Yeah.
the Prime Minister, has said that Black Pete has undergone major changes, and there will be no Zwarte Piets in the near future.
Why is the Prime Minister addressing this?
And so he said that many children had told him they felt discriminated against, and he said, I thought that's the last thing we want during Sinterklaas celebrations. But again, like a typical liberal, he's kind of just like, nothing I can do about it. I guess there's no more Zwarte Piets anymore.
See what he looks like. For some reason, I'm getting real Mayor Quimby-ass vibes from the fucking Prime
Mark
Minister.
Rutte looks like,
Kieran Shaw.
I don't know, just like the worst.
He looks like a
principal
Dutch
you ever had.
technocrat.
Yeah, it's your
Oh,
usual
boo.
European like.
Oh, okay. No,
Yeah,
I
mess.
was getting way way more fail Sunny vibes from him.
No, he wears a suit nice enough so you don't notice when he advocates for like genocide. That kind of like
cool.
irritate.
This is a classic. In 2014, Rutte revealed that he himself had dressed up as Black
Yes,
Pete.
yes, he did. I remember this. Why did I
Yes,
forget
this is my favorite part of the whole story.
Oh no, he Trudeau'd himself.
Yeah, Mr. Rutte, are there any other cases where you've dressed up as Späti Pete? And he's like, maybe one time at a talent show, and the next day there's just dozens
20
of
photos.
photos.
Well, didn't he say like, is this the same one who said like if anything, like it's better when black people are resort to Pete because then they don't have to black up like I do.
Yes, he did say that. He said it was like a lot less work.
Yeah. He's like, they love being Black Pete. They don't have to black up like I do. Again, like very specifically saying, I do it almost every year.
Yeah, but it's also just like him doing it like midway through, like, I hate this. I hate this. But I must. I simply
What a pain.
must.
I must do it for the kids.
He looks like the Joker in the green room backstage before he goes on the the talk show. He's like, put on a happy face. You're doing this.
Yeah.
for the children.
Resort to Pete going down the Joker stairs. With like some bullshit like Dutch Eurovision song playing behind it.
Although they always said country music. I hate them in the Eurovision.
Oh yeah, they do that.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, the
God.
Netherlands is terrible. They're the only country in Europe that's like really into American country music.
There are a lot of connections, I feel like, between the Dutch culture and Anglo slash American culture.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a topic for another podcast. I think that that's everything I have to say.
Yeah.
I do want to say we've laughed a lot about it, but nothing but support and solidarity for all the anti-Späti Pete groups.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
I have a few here. Kick out Späti Pete. Späti Pete niet. That means no. Hashtag 2020 Späti Pete free, but in Dutch. Späti Pete is racist, but to the point. I agree. And I'm sure there's more. If you're listening and want to send
Späti
us
Pete.
more,
All my homies hate Späti Pete.
yeah, we will update them in the description.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've joked a lot about Rainbow Pete and Sooty Pete and all that, but those are 1,000 times cooler than regular Pete.
I'm not here to litigate people's journey. Like, if it's got to be Rainbow Pete's,
No, it's Joker Pete. That's it.
Joker Pete must be.
I'm fucking. There is no compromise on
Yeah.
this. It's Joker Pete, or you can't have your dumb tradition.
It's Joker
anymore.
Pete, or you're just accepting the entire country. You are all babies. You are a society of babies with big fat diapers saying "goo goo gaga." The most important thing to me is our fucking Christmas celebration,
Yeah.
a racist Christmas celebration, and you can't change it, or else I'm gonna cry and poop my diaper.
There's a lot of Jokers.
Joker
Pete's.
Pete. Of course there fucking is.
Part
Because
2 on the Patreon will be all Joker Pete
Because he's most of the way there is the thing.
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, Jeremy is in New York in front of the like Minority Report computer, just like getting up all the images of Joker Pete with his power glove on.
But I think Joker Pete's perfect because the Dutch to me give off a vibe of like if you were to ever meet a Dutch person, like a normal one, not like our friends.
Pencil into your nose?
What?
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 Take
No.
a pencil into your nose.
It's just like the thing of just like the only bit of like American culture that's pretty much like consumed is like the real big things. Like you got the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. You got whatever this and that and the Dutch would totally be a group of people who like fucking like bought the. Oh no!
Späti Pete Washington Redskins crossover.
No, that's Cleveland
Or no,
Indians.
Cleveland Indians. That's Chief
Cleveland
Wahoo,
Indians.
baby.
That's Chief Wahoo.
Oh God
yeah.
damn it!
Yeah,
But yeah,
again,
the-
it's the U.S. where we don't have these problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on.
Chief Wahoo is definitely not, the MLB's version of Späti Pete. But no, like the Dutch definitely seem like collectively like the group of people who would buy the most T-shirts that say like "Why so serious" and stuff like that. I don't know why they give that vibe off to me, but they do, and I think that then Joker Pete would fulfill that need in their life, and then like
Yeah. I like Joker Pete. I like rewriting the medieval story of how like the Netherlands actually invented the Joker, and then there would be a long protracted lawsuit between DC and Warner Brothers versus like
country of the Netherlands,
country of the
the
Netherlands.
kingdom of the Netherlands. Sorry.
God, they were a republic once for one cool minute, but
I have another solution.
yeah.
So
just give the Dutch chief Wahoo.
Yeah, give the Dutch chief Wahoo. No, I was gonna say we keep everything exactly the same, but take off the costume. So you have to black up your entire body.
Show the work you put in.
Like the Blue Man Group or something.
Yeah. Wait,
Yeah, you have to really earn it. You have to earn it by going all the way tip of the penis, like all the way down.
Yeah. Hell
But
yeah.
I was also going to say you have to paint a white spider on your chest because now the story is that Sinterklaas was infected by the symbiote. And what you're looking at is Venom Pete.
Yes.
I was thinking,
And it's just a parade at like 3:00 in the afternoon down like some fucking know-nothing town in the Netherlands that's going to be flooded in a couple of years, blaring that one Eminem song from the Venom
Peter,
movie.
Peter, you have to take over Groningen, Peter.
I'm also okay. You know how like whenever the losing team of the Super Bowl or whatever, their T-shirts just get like shipped halfway across the earth, and then they're just like donated or whatever.
And then like 4 years later, there's like one African kid wearing
wearing like the 2019. I don't know, fucking NFL Super Duper or whatever. I don't fucking know who was in the Super Bowl last year. The
Patriots, sure.
sure, whatever.
It was the Chiefs.
It was the Chiefs and was it 49ers?
This is not important.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, whatever. I'm imagining though that then like, all right, so the Cleveland Indians are having like they're potentially changing their name. Like it's up on the table that then they got rid of Chief Wahoo on their hats and on their jerseys like the last few years, but then they're just gonna ship all of those to the Netherlands.
Oh, that'll be so suited when like the entire Dutch-speaking population is like displaced thanks to global warming and sea level rises, and it's just like a video comes on American TV. It's like, for $1 a month, you can sponsor this poor Dutch child.
It's just a bunch into the entire country just decked out in just Indians jerseys.
We've had this joke for a long time, me and Katie, about like woke brand stuff like that, where like the way to get around it would be to have Chief Wahoo like publicly adopt they them pronouns. And that would be like the Cleveland Indians' way of being like, no, it's okay, we can keep Chief Wahoo.
Oh god, this weirdly reminds me of like in the 70s, the Atlanta Braves had a mascot that was so racist they only kept him for a very short amount of time. His name was Chief Nakahoma.
Oh. Yes.
Yeah. And the thing that was very weird about it is that they got an actual like indigenous person to play Chief Nakahoma.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like the 70s version that's like, we can do racism, but like what
and
about
there was
if
something
it's Native
with
American?
There was like a college team in Florida, right? The Seminoles, I think.
Yeah.
And they are named after the Seminole tribe. And then they had some sort of like offensive character similar to like Chief Nakahoma, something like that, where it was like a pun. And then like the Seminole population were like, you can't keep doing this. And they were like, yeah, we're sorry. That was stupid. What should we do? And they were like, just keep the name. It's fine. And apparently they have like a great relationship with the tribe, and they're like deeply involved in the business aspect of it or whatever. I don't know.
Huh.
I read like I half read an article about it once.
I skimmed it.
Now, see, I'm from Boston and support Boston sports teams, and all of our mascots are based on offensive caricatures of Irish people.
That's the way you got to do it, though. I mean,
No, I don't
Arizona,
like this.
everything's just named after like it's hot and animals that could potentially kill you.
The fucking like the Cocapellis or whatever.
Yeah. A mystical being. Yeah. That
plays a weird sex flute.
Hell yeah, it does.
I come from a normal European country where we name our team after where they're from and nothing else. There's no noun. It is just, it's the Clonmel team. They're from Clonmel. All right. And I think with that, I think it's time for to thank our guest, Jeremy Hammond. Do you have any plugs there, Jeremy?
Yeah, check out my podcasts, Ballin' Out Super, Generation Loss. If you like anime or you like movies, you might like them. And if you, plug this. If you like City Skylines, check me out on YouTube. I'm Jeremy Thunder. I make City Skylines stuff.
Nice. There's definitely like a mod made so you can have like a Späti Piet parade through your.
I know. Well, that's like one of the weirdest things about this is that like the project that I'm working on right now is a Dutch city, so I'm like very steeped in reading about the Netherlands, and so like one of the weirdest things is that this came up, and I was like, oh, how did that never come up in any of the other shit I've read?
They don't,
Sure
they
feels
don't
like
put it
they're
on the
trying to
tourism
hide this
website.
from the world.
All right, and with that, that's another episode of Corner Späti. Thanks to Melty Brains for the theme song New Dawn. It is a bop. Go support them. And yeah, that's it. See you all next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.